Hello, my friends. John Dorahauer, General Minister and President of the United Church of Christ. This was to be an effort on my part to record a video for the fundraising effort I'm participating in with the Southern New England Conference in an effort to retire medical debt. The pajama competition that one of their bridge conference ministers, Kent Salati, and I are engaged in. And we were to sort of poke fun at one another and talk about how our outfits are better than the other. But I'm going to take this in a little bit of a different direction. We had our first day yesterday of trying to raise money throughout the week. And while most of you have responded positively and money is starting to come in, and for that we're truly grateful, there are some I'm hearing from who are concerned that we are being insensitive to the enormity of trauma and pain being experienced right now, and maybe being a little too lighthearted in what is an extremely dire set of circumstances. And I want to address that. I certainly don't disagree with any who feel that way. Many people are living through great trauma right now and great pain. And in those circumstances, what we're doing can certainly seem insensitive and overly lighthearted and inappropriate for the time. But I do want to address that. It was something that we seriously considered. But at the same time, we're keeping in mind that there are many who, in and through this time, are living by the thinnest margin regarding their healthcare circumstances, and many others who are beyond the thin line and who have been saddled with an enormous medical debt that is going to keep them vulnerable for a long, long time and are feeling the weight of that. This fundraiser is an effort to address directly the circumstances of those who are on that thin margin, who are already way beyond that, and who are living with a debt they can't imagine getting out from under, and for whom living through this time of pandemic is just increasing their level of fear about what happens if. The company we're working with, RIP, we have been working with now for quite some time, not quite a full year, but close, in an effort to retire medical debt. We've had a number of very successful campaigns. And every time we do this and send letters out to these families, letting them know that their medical debt is retired, what we hear back from them literally moves us to tears as their lives are changed in a moment, in a flash. And every dollar you contribute to retire medical debt will in fact change a life. We know that. The question we faced was, A, is it appropriate to ask for money in this time? And B, if we do that, should we be this lighthearted about it? And it is those questions that I want to respond to. And I want you to know that we took those questions very seriously before we started this. We were certainly not ignorant of the possible consequences of what we were about to do, and we were well aware that it was a risk in doing it. But it was a risk in the end that we decided to take, and here's why. First of all, I have grown weary of national leadership that has taken what a previous administration structured as a safety net for those who are on those thin margins of healthcare and is doing everything they can to dismantle that, especially in this time of pandemic. It is a real threat to many, including some of my own children, whose safety net as far as healthcare goes is about as thin as it gets, and who are probably just one emergency trip away from being themselves saddled with enormous medical debt that they can't get out from under. And I know how thin that can be, having personally experienced a circumstance where everything seemed fine one moment and the next moment it wasn't. I was traveling home from a vacation that was a joy, an utter joy. And one moment I'm in the car with my children talking about all that we'd experienced, and a month later, I watched my daughter wake up from a coma. And then over the next months, watched the bills come in. And we had good insurance. But I know that for those for whom the safety net is narrow, just one small occasion that you didn't anticipate or weren't ready for can change your life forever. And so I take this very seriously. and that our administration in the midst of this pandemic continues to try to disassemble the safety net seems like an urgent and imperative matter to me and for many who are on that thin margin. And so, for that reason, we knew that the cause for which we were raising money was important, and that got us to a yes. As far as the pajamas, yes, it's lighthearted, it's frivolous, it may seem incongruous and inconsistent with the sensitivity that we need to be showing in and through this time of trauma. And we are living in a time where perhaps we need a little lightheartedness and a little humor, and not just for the sake of humor and lightheartedness, but for something that might make a difference in real time in the lives of real people. When the Southern New England Conference finishes this campaign, however much money they raise, it will go to retire medical debt, and there will be hundreds and if not thousands of families who will get letters informing them that their medical debt is now retired. And that will happen within the midst of this pandemic and relieve from them a burden that they are carrying, in addition to the weight that they're carrying around their fear and their anxiety, their grief around this. I am in touch every day with leaders across this denomination, all of whom are carrying a tremendous weight in this time. I am in conversation every day with leaders across the life of this church who are personally experiencing the ravages of this pandemic, either witnessing family members who have died from the virus, or family members who are currently suffering from the virus, or who themselves are suffering from this virus. I feel the weight of all of that. And what Kent and I are doing is not ignoring that. It's not saying in spite of that, we're just going to have a little fun. It's two leaders in the church who are trying to do what little they can to make a difference. And yeah, it's lighthearted and it's frivolous and it's humorous, but there's a part of us that needs that as well. I am sorry if what we are doing has caused you pain. I truly am. And I will continue to pay attention to whether or not we have struck the right balance. But we're going to continue this for the time being, and we will do what we can to raise money for those who are living through a medical debt that they can't get out from under, and for whom we have become their safety net. I hope, at the very least, if you cannot and are unable to make a donation to relieve medical debt, that you would lift up in prayer all of those families who are living with the burden of debt because of medical expenses. And even if it's just a few dollars, $5, $10, if you can make a contribution, I promise you, we will use that money for a good purpose and a good cause, and every single dollar will go to retire this debt. So thank you. Thank you.